Happy Saturday, everyone. It's me, Ninja Chortle, and we're back with another blurrdy replay. We're not going to waste any time. We're just going to get right into it because we're talking about one thing and one thing only, and that's the Civil War trailer that came out this past Tuesday. So let's get right into it. The trailer starts off leaving us where we left off with the Avengers Age of Ultron. Captain America and Falcon are looking for Bucky, but let's get into it a little bit further into the trailer. We see Thunderbolt Ross, and General Thunderbolt Ross is an antagonist to the Hulk, which we saw in The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton. Remember, there was a Hulk movie that was not Mark Ruffalo. It was Edward Norton. It came out right after Iron Man. It was the first movie that came out after the original Iron Man. We see the same actor is playing the same Thunderbolt Ross in this upcoming film for Captain America. It's also worth noting that in the comics, General Thunderbolt Ross becomes the Red Hulk, and T. Ross is generally considered an antagonist to the Hulk, but as the Red Hulk, he eventually went from being a villain to being on the good side of things. General Thunderbolt Ross is sliding over to Captain America, the general premise of the movie, which is the Superhero Registration Act. So in the comic books, this is how it broke down for the most part. There was a group of small young teenagers called the New Warriors, and they were in a fight with a small group of supervillains. One of them was getting away, and they were in a small location in Connecticut called Stamford. The villain Nitro was getting away, and he decided to go boom because that's his power. He makes things explode, and took out pretty much half the town and just killed hundreds of people. That caused the nation to go crazy because these young superheroes, the New Warriors, are relatively untrained. They're not the Avengers. They haven't had a $1 million, $1 billion training facility, and they didn't know what to do. So they thought superheroes need to be trained. They need to be held responsible for their actions. If a building collapses because they threw a supervillain into it, they need to be personally responsible for their actions and personally liable for all of those that are hurt or suffering because of what they're doing to protect the city. So the Superhero Registration Act was introduced so that superheroes would, one, have to identify themselves outside of the mask, and two, register with the government, and three, be personally responsible for their actions. Iron Man's on one side, Captain America's on another. So Iron Man was on the side of pro-registration. They had heroes like She-Hulk and Spider-Man on his side for pro-registration. And Captain America was on the side of anti-registration. They had heroes like Hercules and the Punisher and Cable. Spider-Man, let's go back to Spider-Man just for a second. So Spider-Man, this was a big deal at the time because Spider-Man was one of those heroes that did have a mask. He covered himself to protect his family, but he was on pro-registration, meaning that he had to publicly identify himself as Peter Parker, and this was a huge deal because he was exposing himself and his entire family and saying, I've been Spider-Man this entire time. And he did this on national television. We didn't even get any Spider-Man in the trailer. We did not get any Baron Zemo in the trailer, as we have confirmed that Baron Zemo is the main antagonist of the film. So again, the main villain of this film is not even in the trailer. Spider-Man, one of the big draws of the movie, not in this trailer. One of the biggest things of the trailer is that they're selling you on the fact that this is a Captain America movie, not an Avengers movie, not Avengers 3, not Avengers Age of Ultron redo. This is a Captain America movie. This is his story, and he is in a fight with Iron Man, with the government. But we will also get some more Baron Zemo. We also get some more Crossbones. Superhero Registration in this movie is going to work a little bit differently in that instead of a small town in Connecticut that gets blown up, we're talking about what happened in Age of Ultron. That Sokovia, the city that was raised up into the sky and came down and was destroyed, that incident is inciting, oh, we need these people to be more responsible because there's so many buildings damaged and people hurt. They can't just go flying around and do whatever they want without any regulation, without any rules, which is a good parallel considering the differences between the comic books and the movie. Okay, so I've already broke down the sides on the comic book side, but here are the sides on the movie side because we don't have all of those characters introduced yet in the Marvel MCU. Pro registration side, you got Iron Man and War Machine, Vision, Black Widow, and Black Panther. On the anti-registration side, Captain America, Falcon, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, and Ant-Man. They haven't yet identified what side Spider-Man is going to be on because we know, again, in the comic books, he was kind of on both sides. He started registration and went over to anti-registration. Let's go back to Black Panther. So Black Panther in the comic books, it's kind of funny. He was kind of getting married at the time to Storm. In fact, they had a ceasefire, so they were fighting, both sides were fighting against each other, all the while Black Panther and Storm are planning their wedding in Wakanda, and everyone gets their wedding invitation and say, okay, we're going to stop fighting for a little while since this is an American conflict, go over to Wakanda, enjoy this wedding, and act like we're friends, and then after we get back home, we're going to start fighting again. Now, Black Panther in this film is rumored to have a more of a neutral side. Even though he's pictured to be pro-registration, he's supposed to be fairly neutral, which makes sense. You can't have a new character, especially a character like Black Panther, if you know anything about him, to just come in and be pro-registration. It's also worth mentioning about the mutants. So obviously we don't have any mutants in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have Inhumans to replace them, kind of. But in the comic books, those mutants were also not involved in the Superhero Registration Act. It wasn't that they were anti-registration. They wanted nothing to do with the conflict whatsoever. Why that is because they know the road of registration very well with Project Wide Awake and all of the other things that has happened in the history of the X-Men, the history of mutants involving registration. They saw that coming and said, we don't want to have anything to do with that at all. We're staying out of it. So the only mutants that actually got involved with the actual registration in the fight in Civil War was Cable, Bishop, and Wolverine. Those were the only three, unless we're going to count Cloak and Dagger, which they are mutants, but I kind of don't count them. But for the record, Cloak and Dagger were anti-registration. Even then, Wolverine was only involved because he wanted to go after Nitro, while Captain America and their groups are fighting each other. The real bad guy, the real person that killed all these people, was getting away, and Wolverine was the one going after him. And that was it. The X-Men had their own tie-in comic books, but they weren't really tie-ins. They almost had nothing to do with the actual conflict at hand. The trailer ends out with a super cool fight between Cap, Bucky, and Iron Man, and it looks like Iron Man's wearing the Bleeding Edge costume throughout the movie. It looks really beautiful and sweet. I love the face designs, and I've always loved the lights all over the costume. So what do you think of the trailer? Are you going to go see this movie when it comes out? I definitely going to be there on opening night. Might even be watching it at midnight. Let me know in the comments what you think. Give this video a like if you like it. Also subscribe to our channel. We put out videos like this every weekend, plus videos during the week, plus gaming videos. We just uploaded yesterday 2 videos for The Last of Us and for Batman Arkham Asylum, so check those out. And follow us on Twitch if you'd like to see us play games live. We actually need people to play with us, so if you want to play online games with us, multiplayer games with us, give us a follow and look us up. We are blurrdy on PSN. This has been Ninja Chortle, and I'm out.